More news on the Lars Nootbaar injury front on today's Card Central 365. All content brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Joe Roderick, Brenden Schaeffer with you here. And Brenden, history in the making, the first guest in Cards Central 365 history. We welcome in from KMOX. He is Matt Pauley. We are friends of his show, Brenden, and now he's a friend of our show as well. Matt, hello.
Hey, that's pretty cool that I get to be the first guest on that show. That's awesome. Thanks for having me.
Matt, you had quite a interesting conversation with Chaim Bloom, Sports on a Sunday this past weekend. As Brenden and I, we kind of talked about the Lars Nootbaar injury that just kind of popped up, and then you kind of dig into it a little bit and kind of figuring out what the hell this is and what all goes into it. But Matt, you as you tweeted out the other day, saying that opening day is not off the table, but they're not going to rush the rehab process for this Lars Nootbaar injury. Talking with him the other day, what sense do you get? Like, how shocked were you? What sense do you get? Like, where do the Cardinals go from here now in this offseason?
Yeah, I don't know if shocked is the word, because I think we were all Googling what Haglund's deformities or whatever it was called when that news first came out last week. And none of us really knew how long this was going to take. We got to remember Jonas Cespedes, who had a heel issue, but he also had an interaction with a wild boar. So as long as Lars Nootbaar doesn't deal with a wild boar, hopefully he's not missing an entire season. Like, there was just no real thing. And luckily at KMOX, we have Chaim on every Sunday during Sports on a Sunday morning. I happen to be filling in for Tom Ackerman this past Sunday. So I got the chance to ask him, do you have much of a timeline on this? And his response was, we've not taken opening day off the table, but it's also not guaranteed, basically saying if he does miss some time at the start of the season, it should not be a large consequential amount of time. So I wasn't shocked or surprised, because I don't know what to expect. I thought there was a lot of speculation out there because none of us really knew how long it was going to take. So good on Chaim and good on the Cardinals for communicating that now, that what kind of the timeline is going to look like. That probably means Lars' spring training is going to be very much impacted by this. It probably means he's not going to be participating in the WBC, where a lot of Japanese media picked up on my tweet. A ton of Japanese media picked up on my tweet because of that. But yeah, that's kind of where it's at right now. And I would assume that as the offseason goes along and we get closer to spring training, we'll get more of an idea on what that timeline actually looks like.
And Matt, how do you kind of view the way that impacts what the Cardinals do maybe around Lars Nootbaar? Because obviously we've talked a lot about maybe some trades being a possibility this offseason, especially with that group of left-handed bats. And then you think about the outfield mix and where Nootbaar would fit into that. Obviously difficult to maybe get much interest in trading a player when they're going through an injury that could keep them out through opening day potentially as he recovers. And, even if he was going to remain, knowing that you wouldn't have him on opening day, does that scare you a little bit from trading some of those other left-handed bats because you might not have a full lineup until Nootbaar returns? How do you view the way the Cardinals may end up approaching this?
Yeah, that second part actually wouldn't bother me. If there's an opportunity to trade Lars Nootbaar, and that means that you've got somebody on the roster who you weren't expecting to have on the roster at the beginning of the season, that's fine. But the bigger issue is the first part of the question, Brenden, and that's, does this impact his trade value, the ability to trade him? And I think absolutely it does. Does it 100% preclude the Cardinals for possibly working out a trade? No, but you would think that his value would be down if he was able to bet on himself a little bit and have a good start to the season once he does start playing. I guess what we really don't know is how much he was impacted by it. And I asked Chaim that on Sunday morning, how much did this impact Lars during the year? And basically the answer is, well, we'll find out once he starts playing again. So there wasn't much of an answer given right there. I would think they maybe know a little bit more. He did not move around as gingerly as you would think that he would move. And he if you've got a lower body issue, a foot issue, that's absolutely going to impact your ability at the plate. It does change things though, because the idea has been that the Cardinals were likely to trade Nolan Arenado, and then in addition to that, move on from like 2 of the 4 left-handers that were there. Well, now if you take out Nootbaar from that, then it's 2 of the 3. Does this mean there's a higher percentage chance of an Alec Burleson getting moved, of a Brenden Donovan getting moved? I think it does probably increase those chances if they are still as adamant as moving on from as many guys as the reports were going in. So yeah, it has an impact. The only way it wouldn't be that way is if they're all in on trading Nootbaar and they're willing to wait on that a little bit. So they want him to start the season and play well, and then they think something might come available at the deadline. But I have a really hard time believing you're going to be able to get much for him unless there's teams out there that say, hey, this is a big deal, and this is why he was impacted as much as he was. We're gonna give almost as much as we would give for a healthy Lars Nootbaar. If that scenario were to play out, I would think the Cardinals would jump at it.
Matt, if you need any help with those the Japanese media, I'm on day 71 now of Duolingo
Okay.
for that. So yeah, you just send those my way and I'll help out where I can with those. But yeah, that's my big thing with the left-handed bats. Like the Arenado thing, I don't think that's impacted at all. I think we'd all agree on that. But if you're looking at moving on from that left-handed bat, I didn't understand last week when Brenden and I were kind of discussing it. It's either, if it's not going to be Lars Nootbaar, then it's going to be Brenden Donovan. I always felt it was, it's either Gorman or Nootbaar, two guys that you're not really sure what you're going to get out of them next season. But yeah, it does seem like now you're going to run into a problem where, okay, let's say you trade Nolan Gorman, and then we've seen it with two of these injuries already in the past where maybe Nootbaar has an Achilles injury now, and then you're without Nootbaar and Gorman. Like this is a tough position for Chaim Bloom to kind of enter into his first year on the job.
Yeah, and I guess the question really is, and we're not going to get an answer to this question until the actual actions take place that answer the question, is what is more important? Just clearing out the space, moving on from a couple of these guys so the roster makes more sense and you have room for JJ Weatherholt and you've got room for some other guys, or is about getting the highest return and you're looking at that. If highest return is goal number one, then you look to trade Brenden Donovan and Alec Burleson. If just getting a couple of these guys off the roster so things make the most sense, but you still have the best possible roster, then you're looking at Nootbaar and Gorman. So that's the question. And we can sit here all we want and talk, well, they should do this, they should do that. They're not going to tell us. So all we can do is guess, but those are your two options. I guess there's always the possibility that you trade one of each. So either a Burleson or Donovan or a Nootbaar and Gorman.
Matt, I'm curious for your thought on this. Obviously, Lars Nootbaar is still in arbitration eligibility at that stage, but probably going to still see a decent rate hike in terms of what he would earn this year. I haven't seen the projections. If it's somewhere in that $5 to $6 million range, you don't think this would turn into something where the Cardinals would consider non-tendering him or just basically saying, hey, with the uncertainty here, we're not going to eat this money if we're unable to trade him. You don't think that would be a situation with this, do you?
I don't. I really don't. With all due respect to the people who have floated that idea out, I still think there are teams out there that would take Lars Nootbaar and what he is going to get paid. So if the Cardinals are hell-bent on not having Nootbaar on this roster, they're not going to have a hard time giving him to somebody else, even if you're just getting a lottery ticket back. So I have a really hard time believing that Nootbaar is a non-tender candidate. I think the non-tender decisions are going to be really fascinating because there are some out there that I'm not 100% sure on, but I'll be the first to say I'm wrong when I'm wrong. But if Nootbaar got tendered, that would absolutely surprise me. Or not tendered would surprise me.
Yeah, I keep, it feels like he was put. I've been adamant. I have not been the biggest Lars Nootbaar fan during his time here in St. Louis. I think a lot of it is just his marketability over his play on the field, and I think that's probably a selling point to some of the markets that he could get traded to, and I think that's kind of how you sell it out there to some of those West Coast teams with that. And you look at some of the other left-handed bats, left-handed outfielders that are going to be out there. It's kind of a consolation prize, I think, at this point, to where, hey, you missed out on Kyle Tucker. Well, can I interest you in a Lars Nootbaar?
Yeah, look, I was really disappointed in Nootbaar's performance this year. He was mostly healthy, not 100% healthy, but he was mostly healthy in the sense that he stayed on the field. And generally, the story arc with Nootbaar is he plays well, he gets injured, he comes back. It takes him a while after he comes back to get going. Then he gets going, and then he gets injured again. This year, it didn't play out that way. He stayed healthy, and the numbers actually fell back. Now, I guess we can present the idea, was he actually healthy? Was there actually stuff going on that was impacting him in a way? We know about the StatCast numbers. We call him a StatCast darling for a reason. But at some point in your career, you can't just say, well, this guy's StatCast numbers are not matching up with baseball card numbers. Most guys, eventually, those two numbers do converge. You look at what they do from an advanced data standpoint, and you can then correlate that out to what they're going to do from a batting average, home runs, RBI standpoint. That hasn't happened with Nootbaar. And actually, the StatCast numbers actually started to fall back this past year as well. Maybe that was injuries, maybe it wasn't. But I was the most disappointed by him this year, just because he was on the field a lot and the production was not what I thought it was going to be.
So maybe, Matt, though, to your point about all of that and having dealt with this Haglund's deformity this year as Nootbaar obviously did, we don't maybe know how much it impacted him, but I guess the dissenting view could be, all right, if you decide that you're going to trade a player in an offseason where he's not even guaranteed to be ready physically by opening day, coming off of a year in which all of the numbers did decline, and he's just a little bit closer to free agency eligibility a couple of years away, and there's that increase to his salary. Like, all these things do add up to kind of feel as though, all right, if the Cardinals were to move him in this offseason, it's another example of that, maybe selling an asset at its lowest value. In your view, would it just maybe behoove the Cardinals, regardless of what else it might mean for their trades? Because I agree with Joe. I don't think that if you can't trade Nootbaar, it means you absolutely have to trade Brenden Donovan. That's a trade in a different category where you better be getting something of quality if you're moving Donnie. But could it just benefit the Cardinals to say, maybe it wasn't our intention, but with this injury situation ramping up, it might be best to just hold our nose, keep Nootbaar through this offseason, and understand that if, some things are corrected from a physical standpoint, he could recoup trade value that looks different in July, or potentially actually help your ball club next year more so than he did in 2025.
I think that's the likely outcome. That's what I think is going to end up happening. I don't think he's going to get traded, and I think they're going to look to move him, especially if he has a nice start to the season. Now, I'll also say this. I have long been on, as this team goes through what they're going through right now, Donovan and Burleson, to your point, are kind of out of this conversation, but I don't really care that much about what they're getting back for people. Have people on the roster that's going to be part of this long term and get on that path to becoming who you're going to be, and whatever you have to do to make that happen, cool. This Nootbaar thing and the injury, that kind of throws a wrench into that idea, because I get, especially if they're not sold on Nootbaar long term. But you know what? Does Chaim Bloom go out of his way to talk about the timeline and what they want, and maybe the injury was impacting him? I'm not a big believer that you recoup trade value by talking about things in the media. Whenever people say, oh, you're going to tank somebody's trade value because you're talking about trade. No, you're not tanking anybody's trade value. Teams already know who's on the trade block, who's not on the trade block. So I don't really think that it's damage control or anything like that with what Chaim was saying. So the fact that he was pretty adamant about, hey, this guy's going to be ready for opening day or very close to opening day, and we're not going to rush it. We're not going to rush the rehab process. We're going to get him right. Maybe he is more part of the future than what a lot of us thought he was going to be.
Well, you keep breaking the news, asking the right questions, and getting us all the rumors this offseason. I need rumors. I need clickbait this offseason, Matt.
He's getting pretty desperate, man.
I see, I see what's going on in Detroit and Philadelphia, and I'm jealous of all of the rumors and clickbait that they have to throw out there. I need more of that. So you keep up the good work, Matt, and keep helping us do our job as well over here at STL Sports Central. He's KMOX's Matt Pauley. You can hear him every single night. And if there's a Cardinal rain delay, you can hear me as a guest on with him as well. So for Matt, for Brenden Schaeffer, I'm Joe Roderick. This has been another edition of Card Central 365 here on STL Sports Central. All content brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Hey, Missouri, get ready. The wait is almost over. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is coming soon to the Show Me State, and you can sign up today. New Missouri customers get $300 in bonus bets when DraftKings launches on December 1st. Download the app now and place a $5 bet when DraftKings goes live, and DraftKings Sportsbook will bring everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning-fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. And when DraftKings officially goes live in Missouri, you'll be betting with the Sportsbook app trusted by millions. It's safe, it's secure, and has fast money withdrawals. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code STL Sports to grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when DraftKings goes live December 1st in Missouri. That's code STL Sports in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.